Well, my friends, it all comes down to this: the ending of Nickelodeon Kart Racers week on this channel with a review. This is my very first video game review, and it's been a long time coming. I've been covering this game since it first came out. Not came out, released. I don't know why I keep saying that. I've been saying that multiple times in multiple videos, but what do I finally think of this game after having a whole week to digest it and form my opinions? Let's find out right now. Hello dear beautiful human, my name is RidersDX and welcome to my channel where we're finally finishing off Nickelodeon Kart Racers week with my all anticipated video game review. So a lot of people have been asking me in the comment section for what I overall think about this game, and I've just been telling everyone, wait for my review. Not trying to get views or anything like that, no, I'm just like, I feel like it's just easier to direct them to this video, But no, all week I've been uploading footage on Nickelodeon Kart Racers, just showing off all the tracks that there are in there, along with all the different modes and stuff, the shopping thing and all that. And I feel like I've gotten to this point where I've played a good portion of the game and I can finally make a video about what it is I truly think about every aspect of the game. So this is my very first video game review, and we're just gonna break it down in a very traditional review sense. I'm gonna talk about the overall backstory of the game. I'm going to talk about its gameplay, I'm going to talk about its graphics, its sound, replay value, just basic sections like that, nothing too special. So let's strap on in and get racing into this review. That wasn't very funny, was it? Well, just in case you did find that funny, please give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and subscribe to my channel if you like videos like these and want to see more in the future. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter at RidersDX or join my Discord server, the Spongy Garden. But yes, let's get right into it, and I'm going to start off with a brief backstory on what Nickelodeon Kart Racers is, if by this point you still don't know what this game is. If you've been following my channel for like even a week or so, then you should know, but if you don't, then okay, I'll tell you anyway. So Nickelodeon Kart Racers was announced back in late July. It was promised to be this major Nickelodeon crossover game where we're going to have characters from 12 different franchises that are all going to be racing on different tracks across all these Nickelodeon TV shows. So it seemed very exciting, especially for people who are fans of Nickelodeon and kart racing games. It was being published by Game No Entertainment, and they published games such as Cartoon Network Battle Crushers, Big Hero 6, Battle in the Bay, and Big Time Rush. Yeah. So they have a lot of experience in making TV show licensed games already, so that could be a good or bad thing. But the game itself was being developed by Bam Games, and they've made some games that I absolutely do not recognize. The only one I did recognize was like this Power Rangers Mega Battle one, but I don't really care for Power Rangers, so I don't know much about it. But what's really interesting is that Bam Games actually also made a bunch of website games, for various TV shows, both Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. There was even like an Ed, and Eddie game, and Ed and Eddie is like one of my all-time favorite shows, so that was really cool to see. But yes, it was announced, and the release date was also announced with the announcement, which is kind of rare for most video games. So it felt like the timeline for this game was very rushed and very short and very brief. So that left a lot of mixed opinions on whether or not this game was going to have tons of content with it or not. But now the game has finally come out, and I can finally talk about what this game exactly has. So let's get right into it. Okay, so I'm gonna start with something that's a little bit less in depth compared to my other sections, and that is the graphics. So one of the biggest complaints about this game prior to it coming out, which I actually haven't really talked about that much, was the graphics. A lot of people were saying, especially in the comments of my videos in particular, that wow, they hadn't seen like a PS2 game in a long time, something like that. Like they said that these graphics were akin to a PS2 game, which was like 2 generations ago. So that's quite an insult, to games in terms of visuals. But here's what I truly think about the graphics of this game. I honestly don't mind them. I actually kind of like them. And I will say that I agree that they're not the most advanced graphics in the world. I mean, if you looked at the file sizes of this game, if you like downloaded it from the online store, it's under 1 gigabyte. So that should kind of tell you enough that this game does not have the most powerful graphics in the world. Also, it does not look that detailed. It does look like something I think a little bit better than a PS2 game. I think PS2 game is going a little bit too far. Like, this game definitely has graphics that are slightly better than a PS2 game, but I do think it should have been in the last generation in terms of graphics. But here's why I don't have a big problem with it. I love the art style. I think the art style of it is very cartoonish and very like vibrant in color, and this was something I was really concerned about with the screenshots I'd seen at first, because I was concerned that the game would not be very vibrant and it would not like exhibit that really fun cartoony energy that this game could totally have. That's something that's really great about these cartoons that this game covered, is that they have such like crazy art styles, and I felt like as long as they remain true to those art styles, then the game would be totally fine in terms of visuals. Because I think with like cartoon games in particular, it's a lot more important to have a good art style rather than powerful graphics, because you know, with graphics, I understand why it's important for games like, say, Assassin's Creed, Uncharted, all those first-person shooters, because those games are trying to be realistic, and to bring more realism into the game, you need to have more powerful graphics. So it makes total sense why those games need such high-powered graphics. But for a game like Nickelodeon Kart Racers, doesn't really seem as necessary, because it's more about like the art style of the game. It's more about making sure the art style really matches the nature of these characters of these TV shows, and I think this game does a really good job in doing that, honestly. Like, I would race through like, say, the Bikini Bottom, for example, and I love seeing all the different references to the TV show, and I love seeing like how all the colors like kind of blended in together but at the same time still stood out, and you know, the bright green color of the slime really pushed some excitement in me when I was riding in it. So I don't know, this might not be a popular opinion, but I thought the graphics were fine. I liked the graphics for what they were. I mean, sure, they could have been better quality if you really want to nitpick, but what I liked about the look of this game is that it really stayed true to that cartoonish style that these Nickelodeon TV shows are known for, you know? And that's always something that's very easy to lose when you're transitioning TV show characters from the 2D to the 3D environment. And I think that's one of the things that this game really does get right. I'm showing off some footage right now of some of my favorite tracks in this game in terms of visuals, and these tracks just look amazing. They look fun. They look like a world I want to be a part of, and I think that's what's most important with this game. And it's my honest opinion that you shouldn't be asking for like the most high powered graphics just because it makes logical sense for them to want the most powerful graphics in the world. I think what's really more important for a game like this is retaining that art style that's key to making these shows come alive, and I think that's what this game was able to do. So overall, I did really enjoy the graphics of this game. I will say though that sometimes there were occasional frame drops. Sometimes the performance wasn't that good, which really there's no excuse for it because the graphics are not that powerful, you see. So that should have meant like a better performance, but that only happened once in a while, honestly. Otherwise, this game ran at a beautiful 60 FPS, which is really awesome, and sometimes game performance is more important than graphics. So this game does really well in the graphics department, in my opinion. Okay, so next up we're going to be talking about one of the most important things of this game, and that's of course the gameplay. Okay, so I've watched a lot of videos, a lot of reviews of Nickelodeon Kart Racers, and one thing I didn't like about a lot of those reviews is that a lot of people were constantly comparing this to Mario Kart. And you know what? I understand why people compare this to Mario Kart, because it's a kart racer, and Mario Kart pretty much invented the kart racing genre. I just think that that's not productive in terms of like actually judging this game by itself, because every kart racer can be compared to Mario Kart, honestly. If you really wanted to, you could compare like every single kart racer to Mario Kart, and what that's gonna do is that it's gonna make it hard for us to judge the game based on its own merits. Because at this point, copying Mario Kart, it's a genre now. Mario Kart has been so impactful that they basically created a racing genre. So I don't think it's really appropriate to like call every single kart racer that comes out now a Mario Kart ripoff, because It's a genre now. It's a style of game. That's how impactful this game is. It actually made it like a profitable style of game that all sorts of franchises can profit from. So, you know, it's like calling every first-person shooter a ripoff of like whatever the first-person shooter was. Honestly. So I really did not like that argument, so I'm gonna refrain from doing that. Although I will say that, like, if we're gonna compare Nickelodeon Kart Racers to all the other kart racers out there, there's not a lot about the gameplay that makes it stand out from the other kart racers, which I can understand is hard because, you know, the kart racing genre, there's only so much you can do to make it unique without basically changing it into something completely different that people might not be into. So I think what they were aiming to do with Nickelodeon Kart Racers was to make it as accessible as possible to like the casual gamer, because a lot of people playing this game are gonna be like Nickelodeon fans that might not play video games that much. So I can understand why they tried to keep the gameplay simple, and you know what, because they kept it simple, the game plays well. The game plays like a decent kart racer. There's nothing broken about the gameplay, there's not that many glitches. It really just plays perfectly fine. It's very solid in terms of like how it plays. There's really not much I can criticize about the gameplay itself in terms of like flaws and mistakes, because they really refined it pretty well. The game plays totally fine, and that's why when I see all these like really bad scores and then I play the game itself and it doesn't even play that bad, I'm kind of shocked that like so many people are ripping this game apart, even though like its gameplay, if you try to look at it as objectively as possible, is fine. I mean, it's not okay groundbreaking amazing, you know, because it's not a unique game. You know, there's a bunch of different kart racers that play just like it, but there's nothing wrong with it either. That's the thing, it's really not that bad. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I found the controls to be pretty simple for the most part. I mean, some characters control better than others. I'm looking at you, Michelangelo. But that's to be expected with any kart racing game. But as long as the gameplay is not broken, then the gameplay is totally fine. And it really depends on like your strategy and how you play the game and what characters you want to play as. So I thought the gameplay was fine, and if you're looking for like a solid kart racing experience, this is a good game to get, because the kart racing gameplay is totally fine. It's refined perfectly. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, if you wanted to compare it to other kart racers, there's really nothing about the gameplay that makes it any better than another kart racer. So say you gave me a group of kart racing games, Mario Kart, Sonic All-Stars Racing, and then this game, I wouldn't be choosing this game. I would probably go for like Sonic All-Stars because, you know, the track designs are a little bit more different. Or maybe I'll go with Mario Kart because there's a huge roster of characters in that one. But I probably would not choose this game, just because this game is so much more minimalistic compared to those other two games. I will say though, if there's one thing about this gameplay that is unique that I liked, it's the slime mechanic. So I really enjoyed how much they incorporate slime into all the tracks, especially the slime specific levels in particular. So if you all didn't know, this game has 24 tracks, but 8 of those tracks take place entirely on slime. So slime, when you're driving on slime, it handles slightly differently than you would on a typical road. One of the really fun things about the slime mechanic is that you get to build up the slime meter, and when you fill it up completely, you can use this really awesome boost that makes it very fun to kind of like speed past all the players and get ahead of the pack. So it's about like being strategic and like trying to collect as much slime as you can and using the boosts in the right areas to yield the most benefit from these boosts. So that's something I really liked about the gameplay, and if there's anything about the gameplay that stands out, it's probably this mechanic. Okay, now we're going to be talking about the music. So here's my thoughts about the music. I thought it was pretty good for the most part. Although what my main issue with the music is that like none of the tracks are really all that memorable. A lot of it just sounds like music that could have totally been like in like Mario Kart, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that I thought that this was a huge missed opportunity, because you have 4 different TV shows in this game with all distinct music styles, and you could have totally like taken music tracks from these TV shows or made tracks similar to the styles used in these TV shows and remix them or something like that, you know, something like what Team Sonic Racing is doing, for example, taking these like old tracks and remixing them just to bring in like a little bit of everything into this game and make these tracks a little bit more faithful to the TV shows they come from. But instead we get this like really generic kart racing music that could have been a Mario Kart, and There's nothing necessarily bad about the music, it's just that it's not very memorable, it's nothing really special. And that's pretty much this game in a nutshell so far, is that like it's not bad, but it's also nothing special. That's the main issue of this game as a whole. So with the music, it was a pretty huge missed opportunity to take some tracks from these various TV shows, because that would have been a great way to call back to these TV shows and make them more connected to the franchises that this game is taking from. I think that like it's a huge missed opportunity. They could have totally like gotten some real nostalgic points, like using some of the classic like music tracks from these TV shows, but instead they just opted for some like probably stock generic kart racing music. And what's even worse is that there's no voice acting in this game. Now, when I say voice acting, I don't mean like fully fleshed out lines in a story mode. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just like little like voice clips that could be playing during the tracks, you know? And of course, there are some games that overdo this, don't get me wrong. There's definitely some games that overdo the characters talking, and sometimes it can get really annoying having so many characters talk at the same time. And actually a really prime example of this is a Spongebob game. Plankton's Robotic Revenge, like the characters would not shut up in that game, and that was a big criticism for a lot of people. But the exact opposite is true in this game. The characters don't talk at all. Like there's absolutely no voice clips, and it was actually really upsetting because I remember watching this trailer of the game and I remember hearing like Patrick say something in the trailer. So he was like wee hee hee, something like that. I don't know. I'll play the clip here so you don't have to keep that horrible rendition in mind. But Patrick had a voice clip in that trailer, and I know that voice clip was used in like an episode, so I don't think it was like a newly voiced clip. I think it was just something they took from the TV show, which I would have been totally fine with. If they just took like voice clips from the TV shows, that would have been fine too. You don't need to like get those voice actors in the room to voice new lines. All you needed was just some voice clips from like maybe the stock audio footage from Nickelodeon or something like that, which they should have had access to, and it should have been easy to implement something like that into the game. But instead we just have these text boxes on the bottom left with occasional statements every now and then from the character, and it's just not the same. Like it really makes this game not have that personality that I was really looking for in this game, you know? I think in the graphics department they did a good job with that, but in the music department they totally failed, honestly. It's not like it's horrible, like none of it is like absolutely horrible, like I have to cover my ears or cut them off, but it doesn't have that Nickelodeon personality that I was looking for in this game, and the music really was a total letdown in that department. So yeah, okay everyone, we're finally dwindling down to the last part of this review, and that is the replay value. So if you thought I had a lot to say before, I have a lot to say about the replay value, and this is probably like my biggest criticism of this game, and this is probably why the scores have been so low in like all the reviews. I'm gonna talk about will I be playing this game next week, you know, for example, like is there enough content for me to keep playing this game for like a whole nother week? And the answer is no. And okay, here's what it is, and here's something I was really afraid of when I was getting this game, and it really just turned out to be true. So let's talk about the tracks first. There's 24 tracks, which is a really good number of tracks, but the problem with this is that a lot of the tracks actually take place in the same environments, and this would not be an issue if the track designs themselves were different enough to make the tracks stand out, but this is not the case. A lot of the tracks are literally just like day and nighttime versions of each other without that much difference in terms of like the stage layout, and that's a big problem because they're able to say that they have 24 tracks, but the problem is these tracks do not stand out that much, and it's hard to kind of tell them apart, especially the ones that take place in the same environment. This is something that I think is kind of lazy, or also just like a budget reason, you know, and all that. It's not a huge deal because there's still a lot of tracks and they still have like a good amount of differences between them, so it's not like it's the end of the world, but there's not as much variety in the tracks as you might think by hearing, oh, there's 24 tracks in this game, that's a lot of tracks, you know? Although I will say that I did really enjoy the slime themed tracks in particular. I really thought that was a great feature in this game. I'm really glad that they made 8 tracks dedicated to that mechanic, because that those tracks have different rules altogether that make them a little bit different. So that added a little bit more variety. So they didn't completely let me down in the tracks department, but I think in terms of some of the tracks themselves, like you could literally just cut off half of them and you wouldn't be missing that much. It's the truth, but it's a very sad truth. Now here's where the game like really let me down in particular. So I've tackled this topic numerous times in all my videos, and that's the character count. So I can completely confirm that there is only 12 characters in this game. And those 12 characters are the characters that we all knew from day one were going to be in this game. And this is a huge missed opportunity, and just another reason why I think that they just did not have a big budget in this game. And also the timetable for this game was also probably very rushed and very short, because they only took characters from 4 different franchises and put them in this game, and that's just doing no justice to the incredible universe that's Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon has so many different TV shows that should have made an appearance in this game. We're not just talking about like old classic ones, we're talking about like new TV shows that people watching Nickelodeon now would want to see in this game. And I just think that that's something that should have taken like a huge precedence in this game. Like, okay, as like an older like Nickelodeon fan, I wouldn't have really cared of seeing TV shows like Loud House in this game, but I just think from a marketing standpoint, it should have been important to put like their newer TV shows in this game, because you know, you have shows like Hey Arnold and Rugrats that are going to attract like older fans, but it also would have been a great opportunity to introduce those older fans to the newer TV shows you have on the network. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles doesn't cut it. I'm sorry. I have a problem with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles being in this game just because they took up 4 of the 12 character slots. Because first of all, they're basically just palette swaps. Honestly, they all look like the same exact model. They're just basically palette swaps. So that was another shortcut they took. And also, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is not like a Nickelodeon series in the classic traditional sense. And you know what? If this game had way more characters, I'd have no problem with seeing all 4 of them in this game. But the problem is, they took 4 spots from 4 of the characters that could have been great to have in this game. Like, I could have just imagined like having Jimmy Neutron, Danny Phantom, Timmy Turner, and I don't know, Cat Dog in those last 4 spots. And the game would have been like infinitely better, you know, just having a little bit more variety. But instead, we have 12 characters and 4 of them come from one TV show, and that's just such a disappointment. Just a huge disappointment, and it really is something this game missed the mark on. But I have no doubt that the team behind it really want to add more characters, as we heard time and time again from asking them these questions. And they have said in the past that if there's enough support for this game, and if this game is successful, then we might see DLC in the near future. Just I don't think people are going to be buying this game, honestly, like after hearing like all the bad reception the game has been getting, because the game's biggest complaint is really just the lack of content. There's really just no excuse for such a bare bones game for a universe that's so big and rich with characters and history. It was just a really huge missed opportunity, and I think like the damage is already done too much. I really don't think this game is gonna be that successful, and I don't think we're gonna get that DLC that they're talking about, because I just don't think this game is gonna have that support that it needs for it. But you never know, so we can see. Okay, so those are the 2 big topics with the replay value, but there's also a few other things I want to talk about. So there's a shops component to this game, and in the shops you can buy like all these different car parts that can help to upgrade your vehicle. And I think this is a cool way to add a little bit more replayability to the game. I would have liked it if we could actually unlock like more tracks or more characters instead, or just add that on to the shops component. That would have been a really great motivating factor to keep playing the game and to unlock more things. But instead, we had everything unlocked in the very beginning, and there isn't as much incentive to keep playing the game as a result. And honestly, like these parts, I mean, it is good to have them as like a thing to like aim for in this game, but I don't think any of them really make a huge difference in how you play the game. It's just my honest opinion. But when I had these upgrade parts, they just make like minor like differences at best that really did not impact my performance all that much. So like, what's really the point of getting all these items, honestly, unless it was unlocking something really special afterwards? But as far as I know, it's not going to be unlocking anything special. and I haven't heard otherwise from any of the players, so I'm just gonna assume that this is all the game really has to offer in terms of like unlockable. Also, another thing this game like doesn't like hit the mark on is that there's no online mode, and that should have been something that this team should have really tried to aim for, because online mode is a great way to keep players coming back to your game. And it's also a great way to make sure that like these players are still playing the game, so that your DLC would actually sell if you were planning to make some DLC. Now that there's no online mode, it really decreases the amount of people that are going to continue playing this game like weeks and weeks after they got it and start playing it. So it's just like a really huge missed opportunity. Now there is another mode besides the typical racing mode you would see in the games, and that is the battle arena mode. And this is definitely interesting. I tried it out yesterday, so this is definitely a cool mode in terms of like breaking the pace and like having something a little bit different to do than racing. But the problem is that you need to have a second player to play this mode. You can't play it by yourself, and you know what? I don't think it's a really big deal, because most people playing Nickelodeon Kart Racers will be playing with other people. Like, that's just the nature of racing games. But for those people like me who have no friends, it's really just a downside, because now I can't play the arena mode properly, so I can't even get to experience it. And it's honestly, from what I played, it seems like a really cool mode, you know? It's a cool way to break the pace of the game and like try different things when you're bored with the racing component. But now I'm just stuck with the racing component exclusively. It's not a huge deal, but it's just something like, why did they limit this, you know? There's no reason to limit it. Okay, but that is everything. I'm sorry for how long this review is, but you know, I've talked about this game for so much, there's just so much in my mind now in terms of like what I want to talk about with this game. But what do I think about this game overall? Well, I do think that people are being a little bit too harsh on it, because the gameplay itself, which is the most important part of any game, let alone like just a Nickelodeon game, but just any game in general, the gameplay is the most important part, and this game gets that right. This gameplay is fine. It's good, actually. Like, the game plays really well, and there's nothing bad or broken about it. If I had to criticize the gameplay, it's the fact that there's not too much about it that makes it stand out from other kart racing games, but they do try to stand out by having the whole slime component, which does add a little bit more variety to the game, especially if you play the slime specific tracks, because those have a little bit different rules that make your racing experience a little bit different. So I will say the gameplay is probably one of the only things this game gets right, honestly. And I also do like the art style of this game. I think the art style is really colorful and really cute, and just I do love like the cartoonish feel of the whole game, and I think that was really important to get right for a Nickelodeon game, you know, because all these cartoons have such distinct visual styles to them. It was really important to make sure you got that kind of character into the visuals of this game. I will say that like the music itself could be better, like could stand out a little bit more, and also there just should have been a lot more content in this game. Like, you know, when you have a kart racing game, you're really dependent on having a lot of different characters and tracks that are unique and also satisfying to like the fan base that's going to be buying this game. And truth be told, there's a lot of Nickelodeon franchises, so it would have been hard to satisfy like all Nickelodeon games, but they're really just targeting a very specific group of Nickelodeon fans now, because there's only 4 franchises, and I do seriously doubt that there's going to be DLC. Like, I just don't think the game is going to be that successful in terms of sales, and I don't think they're going to have a reason to get DLC. But if you do want to see it, then make sure you let them know, whether it be like contacting their social medias or emailing them something, you know? I'll leave some links in the description box below if you want to do that. But overall, I will say that this is a good game, and if you're looking for something that's easy and fun in terms of kart racing, you know, something to tide you over until Team Sonic Racing comes out, then this is a good choice. It's honestly a good choice. I will say I don't think it's worth $40. I think you should wait until the price drops, you know, maybe to like $20 or like $15 maybe, because I just don't think the content in there is sufficient for a $40 price tag. And even though like the $40 price tag itself is not a full price tag, this game really is very bare in terms of the content it has, so I don't even think it's worth $40. It's a pretty cheap game, and it was obviously made for profit over like quality and like trying to make the most amazing kart racing game possible. But I think this has a lot of potential for like a second game. I think the second game has so many things it could improve on. And if they did decide to make a second game, they need to try to do a better job at getting more franchises into the game, because that's the only way they're going to sell this game, is if they have more characters that people are actually looking for in this game. And 4 franchises is not going to cut it, especially when one of them is like 4 palette swaps. Like, this is not going to cut it. When you have a Nickelodeon kart racing game, there's no excuse for having such a small and limited cast. You need to have way more, and that's probably the biggest thing people are disappointed with in this game. But okay, that was a really long review, but I'm glad I did it. And oh my gosh, this is gonna take a lot of editing. But thank you all so much for watching this with me. This is gonna be the last Nickelodeon Kart Racers video I'm gonna be doing for a while. I'm gonna take a break from the game, and I think I'll come back to it just to play like the other cups, and if there's like any other like weird ideas I have to play with the game, then I might make more videos for that too. But this is probably gonna be the last Nickelodeon Kart Racers video for the time being, just because I uploaded so much content, and I'm pretty sure most of my subscribers are tired of the game at this point. But if you did like this video, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. If you like videos like these, want to see more in the future, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at RidersDX, or join my Discord server, the Spongy Garden. But yes, that is everything. RidersDX is out. Thank you so much for watching my channel. I hope you stay tuned for what I have coming in the future. Bye bye.